Hey friends, welcome back to another video on me musing, this time inside of a cabin. And this video is about the Bible and just kind of exploring the different themes of um, God versus Satan, and how does that fit with you? Does that resonate with you at all? Well, I was raised a JW, a Jehovah's Witness, and just to make a long story short, at I think 12 or 13 years old, I came home from school, and my mother and I think another Jehovah's Witness woman, one or two, were sitting in the living room. And that was my kind of Christian intervention. They wanted to know if I thought Jehovah was the only true God, and they wanted me to basically claim it. And when I didn't, from that moment on, I was about, I want to say 12 or 13. I wasn't put out of the organization because I wasn't baptized. I was the only child in my family not baptized at that point. But I wasn't put out, but I might as well have been. Everybody in the Kingdom Hall, they don't call it a church, they call it a Kingdom Hall, they could no longer hang with me. And that was really traumatic for me at 13 years old because a lot of they were in my class, they were my friends. And so when I look back on it, I actually feel some emotion around it, because that I want to transmute and clear that emotion and send it love. Did not realize I still had some energy around that. But can you imagine being 13, and because you do not feel at 13, you do not know enough about the world, to say, this is what I feel, this is the only true God. And honestly, between you and me, I didn't know there could be other gods. I had no idea at 13, 12 or 13, there could be other gods. So I feel like that question for me at that point in my life was too premature. And I've met a couple of people that were also of the cousin to the JW religion. I think it's Mormon. And they've had similar experiences. And it's interesting because both of the founders of both religions were both 33rd degree Masons. So that's really, really interesting that they started religions, but they themselves were Masons. So, anywho, that was a little traumatic, more than I even realized before, now that I'm talking about it. And that started a very interesting in for Dark to use, an older person to kind of wiggle their way into my life. But anyways, aside from that, okay, so we have that situation that came up, me being presented with this. And I think Yeshua, I think he was 13, around the same age that he was arguing with rabbis, right, about God. Don't quote me on the age, but I think it was 12 or 13. So the Bible, which a lot of religions go by, they take the Old Testament or the New Testament. I don't really know of a religion that takes the whole Bible. But anyways, there's always this thing about Jehovah, Yahweh, right? And Satan or Lucifer, okay? And so I have a point. I'm going somewhere with this. What if that story was taken from a different story and it was made into a more digestible version for them to put in the Bible? Now there's like over 200 versions of the Bible with different names taken in, taken out, put in. Enoch was removed, the Book of Thomas was removed, just different things. It's translated into all these languages. But what if, and now just listen now, right? This is just me musing. What if God in the Bible is not the creator of all that is, right? Because this is what we are taught, right? This being in the Bible is the creator of all that is. First of all, right? I'm going to hold that right there. First of all, the Old Testament and the New Testament has different personalities of this God. The Old Testament, it's like, I'm creating man in my image, which is very interesting in itself, because is God human? How are we created in his image? Just more gentle. There's rules, there's laws of loving your neighbors, they're yourself, loving your enemies. And then the New Testament is like, okay, we're gonna take the spoils, we're gonna kill these people that don't believe in me, and we're gonna rape the women, and you're gonna make the ones that you want your wives. And it's just like, whoa, is this the same person? Is there multiple personalities? Is this the same God? Okay. So there are people like Billy Carson, amongst many others, that believe that it is not the creator of all that is. And I'm going to tell you, I do not believe that the God of the Bible is the creator of all that is either, because of many reasons. I always felt like, wow, this is really interesting when we read the scriptures in the Kingdom Hall, that God was this vengeful, when I feel a God of peace, I always felt this energy and this love and this family around me as a young one. I astral projected naturally when I was younger. I thought everybody did. I had experiences that I thought were normal. And then later on, I found out that other people were having experiences that they didn't know what it was, clairvoyances, clairaudiences, and it freaked them out. For me, it did not scare me. It more so made me, it was just my life. It was just, how my world was. And I functioned with that normal world for me, right? Feeling my guides around me, hearing messages, astro traveling when I went to sleep. And then there was the outer world that just seemed very different for me. Very different for me. I've often wondered if I was a walk-in at some point, because I just remember being in my body and looking at my hands, looking at my feet, and thinking, what the hell am I doing here? And that continued for a very long time, very, very long time. And then, of course, distractions come up when you get into relationships, you have a family, and then you forget those thoughts that you've had, before. I just realized I have this here turning, still a little green on the bottom, but it's like a black tomato I'm looking at, and I just thought to share. I'm waiting for it to get a little softer and mushy so I can get the seeds out of it. But back to my video. So it was interesting being in that other dimension, so to speak, and then being in the physical form, and having family and school and teachers and neighbors and other kids wanting to play. It's always been a very interesting thing for me to be in the physical body and to interact with others and to be able to feel their feelings and to be able to tell if someone's telling a truth or a non-truth, or I can feel emotions from people when they have emotions, whether I'm looking at them in the eyes or a photo or email or text. But anywho, back to the creator of all that is in the Bible. So many moons ago, maybe 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. Yes, now I'm dating myself, right? How old I am. I learned about Inky and Enlil and their sister. And I realized that there was a similar story pattern there, okay? They were looking for resources on the planet, on Earth. They ended up needing slaves because the beings that were helping them mine gold, which was a resource that they were taking to help rebuild their atmosphere because something was going on with their atmosphere for their planet. Um, those beings were like, listen, we are, we volunteered for this, and now it's been thousands of years. So we are going to have an uprising because, we're finished with this. Leilani, what are you doing? Come on, Mama. Hold on one second. Okay, I had to let Leilani do her thing and jump down. And so they had to come up with a solution, right? Because they did not want a war with the beings that were helping them to mine gold. And they still needed this to continue. It went from this thing where they were just going to take gold, it seems, to just, okay, we set up shop, we set up colonies on Earth, and now we're just going to keep taking from this planet, right? It didn't seem like it was a fast thing. So they came up with this idea to use the humanoid or the hominin that was already there. I don't know if it was like a ape-like, what do you call the beings? Like the caveman type of thing. I think it was something similar to that, right? And they ended up trying different things, and those beings came out okay, but they were sterile. They kept having these sterile beings that could not reproduce, right? And different things were happening. Many different things were happening. We don't want to get into the grotesque stories of the geneticists and their experiences. But Inky and his sister, I forget her name. I don't know if it was Ninti. I know there was a Ninti, but I don't know if that Ninti was her daughter or if she was Ninti. But anyways, they came up with this idea to use the Anunnaki women to hold, I guess, the humanoid that was there, the seed. And so the Anunnaki women, I guess they were a bunch of volunteers, they had this planted, the seed planted in the woman's womb, and they carry to term these mixed babies. And so that was how you got, I guess, another form of Adam, right? There was an Adam, and then there were other beings that weren't as good as Adam, right? They chose their Adam, who was the best, I guess, amongst everyone that was born. I've also heard recently, which I have not researched a lot, that Isis helped with creating the first human, or the Adam Cadman, right? So yeah, it's so much to this story that's unfolding. So fast forward, I'm gonna skip a little bit, but Enlil, Inky's brother, found out that he used his, Inky used his seed. That's right. Inky somehow used his seed for one of the creations. One of the creations, okay? Stay with me here because I'm trying to remember the story. He used his seeds for one of the creations, and his brother found out of all that he was doing, right? He got so pissed off because he did not want their superior God, small g, blood mixed with these slave beings, right? And so that started a huge rift between Inky and Enlil that goes on till this day. Okay? And a lot of people believe that the flood, and now this is in, what is it called? The Lost Book of Inky. It's in the Lost Book of Inky. I believe it's called the Lost Book of Inky. I read it a long time ago. And there's other books too. In these books, and many believe that the flood was Enlil trying to kill off all of those mixed breed humans that his brother created using his seed, and then also the Anunnaki women wombs, which is going to mix blood as well. Either way you cut it, it's going to mix blood. He was trying to wipe them out, and then he was pissed at his brother too, and his brother's son. So he's like, I don't know if he was trying to kill his brother, but he was trying to off a lot of people at that point. Well, his servants, right, and his team, because now you have beings choosing sides. You have people choosing sides with Inky. You have beings choosing sides with Enlil, right? And now you have separate armies after all these years or whatever the case may be. And so someone gave Inky a heads up that this flood was coming. He found out through the grapevine. He warns Adam or whoever at that point it was, right? Because I feel like Noah, there's some connection. Oh my God, guys, I hope this video helps you to do your own research, because sometimes when I get behind the camera, all this stuff that I know, it slips out my mind, okay? It does. But I implore you to research this. If you've never heard of Inky and Enlil, look up Inky and Enlil. Look up Billy Carson's videos on Inky and Enlil and Anunnaki. He actually has a movie, okay, about the Anunnaki. It's been all over. It's been all over larger cities like LA, New York. I think it was in Atlanta. It's called the Anunnaki, right? So, anyways, someone was tipped off, and apparently that's how the Noah's Ark was built, or some ark, because I'm missing the connection between Adam and Noah, but obviously, obviously that was the same bloodline, right? But apparently this flood was to clear off all these illegitimate little g gods mixed with humanoid caveman blood, and to just be done with it. And I remember reading that then they came after, like Inky was warned, him and his crew, right, they got off the planet in their ship right before people were sent, or I guess the army, and Lil's army was sent for them. And all that to say, now that I was able to spit out those words, I hope you followed me somewhat. All that to say, okay, the musing, right, is Inky and Enlil, quote unquote, God and Satan? I don't know. I'm talking here. I'm wondering here, right? From everything that I've learned, everything I've come across, the things I've researched, the knowledge I've been given from spirit. But we don't know it all, right? We know a certain amount, and then there's things that we have to feel within ourselves. How does this feel? Is this true? How does this feel for me? And so, how does it feel for you? Another thing that has come up for me is Inky the beginning of the Bible and the God of the New Testament Enlil? Because the God of the New Testament is no joke. He sounds scary. Okay, so I don't know if people are worshiping him out of fear or love. And I guess, is it better to be respected or loved, right? I can go on and on and on. There's so many things in the Bible and different ancient books before the Bible. You have to remember something, folks. During the time of Yeshua and his disciples, a lot of those disciples couldn't read or write. They could not read or write. So who was keeping notes here? Who was keeping notes? And some of those books, a lot of those books were written 200, 300 years after they died. And then some of the books are written by Paul, who was a trader that came around and started to love Jesus and repented. So it's a really interesting dynamic, the Bible, you know, and I still see it as a holy book, right? It has a lot of stories in it that were taken from ancient books, right? And it was kind of put together like a puzzle piece. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it right there on that one. I hope you were able to follow where I was going with this, and I hope the fan wasn't too loud, but it is warmer today. Yeah, and I wanted to just share my thoughts, and there is a little gap between Adam and Noah. There is a little gap, but maybe it should be a little gap so that you'll do the research if you're curious, right? There's so many things on this planet that I'm still learning, that I'm still coming to terms with, and that I'm still having an appreciation for, right? That I'm finally getting answers that I asked my mother when I was a little girl. I'm getting the answers now in my 40s. You know, I'm getting the answers to, you know, why was, you know, Cain scared after he killed his brother Abel to go off? Like, why did he say, like, they're going to kill me if it was only Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, and now just Adam and Eve and Cain? Who was he talking about? Because there were many more people outside of the Garden of Eden. There were many, many more groups of people. Garden of Eden was just a very small science lab garden, right? Like, you see gorillas in like a little area. That's their area to play. That's their area for food. That's their area for mating. The Garden of Eden was probably, like, of course, bigger than what you typically see at a zoo, but there were definitely other people out there, other groups of people, and dare I say, other beings created from other small g's. I don't know. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole other story for another time. But now I know why I was asked at 12 or 13 to say that Yahweh was the only true God, because there are multiple small g gods. Okay, well, not the creator of all that is, just small g gods messing with the beings there, and they had no business really doing that. All right, folks, I hope that this piqued your interest, and if you would like to see more videos of me musing and sharing and making you think, right, and do research, please like below and subscribe, and feel free to share. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.